Hey guys, you're watching Tech Radar. I'm Basil, and this is our review of the Sony Xperia XA2 Ultra, a £379 phone smartphone, $449 in the US. It's out right now to buy, but would we recommend it? Well, starting with the design, this is a very clearly Sony-looking phone through and through. It's a thick phone, it's over 9mm, and with its big 6-inch screen. Fair size to it, so if you have smaller hands you may want to avoid it. Very small bezel either side, but there's a lot of bezel going on up top and down below. It's got a solid metal frame, but the plastic back does give away the fact this isn't quite a flagship. One camera around the back as well as a fingerprint scanner, but around the front you've got two cameras, a 16 megapixel and 8 megapixel camera. One is a nice wide angle so you can get you and all your friends in. It's quite a heavy phone as well, and while it's good because it has a really big battery, it's not perfect for people who want something that's a little bit more manageable and petite. If there was one other gripe that we'd also have with it, it's that the volume rocker on the right hand side is just a bit too high for your thumb to comfortably reach. Moving on to that display, it's 6 inches full HD IPS technology, and this comes together really nicely. It's a perfect canvas for the user interface, Netflix watching, web browsing, ebook reading, etc. It isn't an OLED display, so it isn't super sharp, punchy, poppy, but it's definitely around what you'd expect for this price. On top of that, the size makes it really nice for gaming as well. And if you jump into the settings, there are some options to tweak the display calibration. Now you may think a nice big edge-to-edge display like this will take a lot of battery, and you would be right, but there is a big battery under the hood of this thing, and so it comfortably lasts a full day. If you're a light user, you could probably squeeze a best part of 2 days out of it, but heavy users like ourselves, like I said, watching Netflix, etc., found that by the end of the day we had 15 to 25% left, which by today's standards is very good. One note about the battery though, while the phone does support fast charging, there is no fast charger in the box, so you'll have to purchase one separately. The Sony Xperia XA2 Ultra doesn't have one, doesn't have two, it has 3 cameras in total. A 23 megapixel snap around the back, and on the front you've got a 16 and an 8 megapixel camera. 8 megapixel camera is super wide angle, 120 degrees, 16 megapixel camera packs optical image stabilization, and the rear camera, the 23 megapixel camera, is the shooter that can record video in 4K, so each one has something special. The rear camera is the one we're going to start with, and in good light it captures really decent photos, good detail, not the best dynamic range around, but if you dive into the manual settings and manually enable HDR, you can get some more range out of the rear camera. In low light though, it really does struggle, and that's something that we've seen from all Sony phones with high resolution sensors. 4K video and regular video look decent in good light. Again, low light they do struggle. Digital image stabilization works relatively nicely. As for the front cameras, 8 megapixel wide angles really nice, gets you and your friends in frame or yourself in a background if you're on holiday. The 16 megapixel camera, optical image stabilization on board, also really great. The image stabilization helps in low light, and there's also a front flash to brighten things up. I'm much more impressed with the selfie taking properties of this phone than the rear camera. That said, one thing the front cameras can't do is record 4K video. They record up to full HD. Gaming on the XA2 Ultra is loads of fun. You've got flat sides, so it's really easy to grip and hold. You've also got a big screen, tons of room for your on-screen controls. You do have a mono speaker, so that can be covered up pretty easily, but Bluetooth headphones, and there's a headphone jack on here as well. You'll be able to overcome that slight issue. Another slight issue, the 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. Now, in itself, that isn't great for gaming, but there's only 15 gigabytes that's user available because there's a lot of software preloaded on here, and that's a real shame. You can't uninstall a lot of it either. There is an SD card slot, so there'll be tons of room for your movies, photos, and videos, but yeah, for gaming specifically, especially big games, you might be a little bit challenged. Other content, however, looks great. Streaming videos generally is brilliant because videos on Netflix, as far as TV shows, etc., are 16:9 full HD. They aren't super wide angle, so you don't get a lot of letterboxing. The screen's plenty sharp for ebook reading, and yeah, multimedia is very good, but there are just a couple of things holding it back from being brilliant. Sony's been excellent at getting Android 8 Oreo onto their entire range of phones, from lower end devices like the XA range right through to their flagships, and this is no exception. This runs Android 8 Oreo with Sony's custom skin over the top. Day-to-day performance is really nice and smooth. The user interface looks relatively clean, but there is a lot of bloatware on here. Still, what you end up with is an up-to-date, slick experience. There's a Snapdragon 630 processor under the hood with 4 GB of RAM. Geekbench multi-core scoring was over 4,100. Not mind-blowing, but definitely capable enough to handle multitasking and a range of games. It's also a nice bump up over the 3,700 score of the XA1 that shows if you are upgrading, there'll definitely be a performance boost in there as well. All in all, the Sony Xperia XA2 Ultra is a really good phone, but at £379 there are a few areas where we would have expected a bit more. I mean, the design is solid, it's a beefy bit of kit, but it doesn't look quite as futuristic as many 18:9 aspect ratio devices that cost around the same or less. You do have a USB-C though, and you do have a headphone jack, so they're decent connection options. The camera setup's also really good at the front, but around the back we would have really liked some better low light performance. The screen looks great, and for multimedia and gaming, etc., it's really enjoyable to use, but it's really hampered by the 32 GB of storage, and specifically only 15 GB of which is user available. With a decent amount of power under the hood for a mid-ranger though, this thing won't slow down anytime soon, and with stellar battery life it'll have no problem lasting a full day. So that's been the Sony Xperia XA2 Ultra. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. For more on this and many other phones, techradar.com is your destination. Thanks for watching.